9:16 on your Monday morning here at AM 1700 WRCR, Haverstraw, WRCR.com. You've got the morning show with Jeff and Will, and we've got Tina Traster. She's the founder, editor, publisher, everything at rcbizjournal.com to talk business here in Rockland County. Good morning, Tina. How are you?
Good morning, Jeff. How is everybody over there?
I can't complain.
That is good. That is good.
I mean, I could, but to get you nowhere.
Yeah, we would go off on a tangent.
Yep.
It would get ugly.
Yeah.
So
anything with me pretty much starts out ugly, so that's okay.
Oh, Jeff.
Well, let's keep it positive. By
right.
We're gonna put a spotlight today and have a discussion today, and I hope you'll. I think you'll be interested in this. It's to take a look at a couple of the nonprofits, and we're going to start by talking about two stories that we published already this week. So one involves the Rockland Farm Alliance. That is an organization that has been around for 15 years, but is in what I would say is a new iteration with a women-led team who are advancing the nonprofit with the acumen of business skills. And why that's important is because so many nonprofits limp along or struggle or fail because in essence, a nonprofit is no different than a for-profit business. It really requires the same infrastructure, in terms of operations and funding and revenue streams, and it's the same tools. But many nonprofits sort of, hum along on passion and shoestring budgets, but the professional skills are not really, polished, and they're not really executed. And that becomes a problem, and we'll mention one or two, but keep a pin in. We'll come back to talking about High Tour. But right now we're talking about the Rockland Farm Alliance and Sue Ferreri, who stepped in about 18 months ago. She came from the corporate world where her role was something known as a, quote, fixer. So she would go into companies, she's a string of companies from her corporate history in the fashion world, where she would step in and see what wasn't working and fix it, everything from employment to operations. The story with Sue is that she happened to buy a house 6 years ago, not even knowing that right through a stand of trees was the Rockland Farm Alliance and the Cropsey Farm and the land that they farm. And they were cutting down trees, and lo and behold, she noticed a great big farm. That can often happen when you buy a house. You actually don't often know what's around you sometimes. And long story short, she got involved with the organization, and about 18 months ago became its executive director, and is leading a full team of all women. So shout out to women and women in business. This on September 17th, which is this coming Saturday, they're having a twilight dinner benefit to raise money for their Project Green food sustainability program, and that's the charity arm of the Rockland Farm Alliance that has been giving, which started actually in the pandemic with the Martin Luther King Center, and has spanned out to some 8 or 9 organizations. So we're really seeing a growth spurt of the Rockland Farm Alliance. I know those of us who've been around in the county have probably watched that organization get founded and morph and struggle at times, but it seems like it's reached an interesting stride. And what she told Rockland County Business Journal is that right now the organization is still run 80% on donations and grants, but that her aim is to change that and to, with the addition of revenue streams, to change that around so that it becomes self-sustaining. And those revenue streams finally include being able to do events like weddings and birthdays, because they finally got permission from the county to use their land for that, as well as their farm store, which they're developing, as well as trying to get on the map for agritourism. So very interesting kind of look into what an organization that's been around for 15 years or so is doing, and how how it is, as I said, morphing before. And I think that why this is interesting is because it's it can be a roadmap for nonprofits that have to be thinking about revenue streams as well as their missions sometimes. Any thoughts before I move on to another nonprofit, which is the, I'm going to talk about the RYE, the Rockland Youth Empowerment Center.
Yeah, let's hear about them.
Okay, so we've also just published a story about Rockland Youth Empowerment Center. Now, that's an organization that has a totally different sort of mission. They are a, let's see, how do I explain them? They're a nonprofit that was technically founded a year ago that administers mandatory court-ordered supervised visitation programs. And they do it on a shoestring budget, which is part of the problem. Now, they too are having a fundraiser, and their fundraiser is September 29th. All these fundraisers, all the information about them are on Rockland RCBJ, so anyone who's interested in these things can take a look. But the thing about the RYE, as we'll call it, is they are so woefully underfunded by Rockland County government, and also recently separated from the umbrella group of Big Brothers Big Sisters, that they're at a juncture themselves where they're going to have to find their way through fundraising or grants or to build their organization in order to perform what is really essentially it's really a county mandated mission, which is what they do is they supervise visits between the children and a parent who has been removed from the home due to some sort of abuse or addiction, or some sort of issue that had made the parent too dangerous to stay in the house. And they navigate this because ultimately the goal here is that to reunite the parent with the child or children, but of course in a safe and supervised way. Interesting to note that with this organization, when they were founded under the auspices of under Big Brothers Big Sisters in 2000 through 2007, Rockland County gave them $65,000 annually. Then they slashed the budget after 2007 to $27,000, and it's remained the same amount ever since, which is just pennies. And for example, from January through August, this organization has worked with nearly 100 families, including almost 225 children. So here's a nonprofit that is as Jillian Ballard said in the interview. It's not as easy as an organization that might be putting food in people's stomachs or putting a roof over somebody's head. Let's just say it's a harder mission to message to the public for the purpose of fundraising. So these are two very different sort of nonprofits with two different sets of with two very different sets of goals, but in a sense they both serve a community function, and they both have to think about their sustainability. Because there's not an obvious now Rockland, the RFA, the Rockland Farm Alliance, also gets some monies from the county, also through tourism grants. But essentially, these nonprofits have to figure out their own survivability, even though what they do, amounts to enhancing the public good. So, we're a county filled with nonprofits.
I was just going to say, I happened to be at the Nyack Street Fair yesterday, and in addition to all the typical booths that you would see at a street fair, I happened to see People to People was there, Meals on Wheels, and the Soup Angels, which is out of the First Reformed Church of Nyack. Just a lot of food-based folks who were looking to help spread the word and raise some money and get some volunteers. As like you said, there's lots of that going on in Rockland County.
Yes, a lot of food insecurity, and I'll end on just one note with regard to Hightower, which also is a nonprofit, and which also has been needs essentially to understand the principles of running as a business. But on the county side, okay, in to date, the county has been, in the past 5 years, Hightower has been receiving $331,000 or so in dollars from the towns via the county, plus the county's $30,000 or so contribution. We know that there's all sorts of chaos swirling around Hightower right now, and I'm not going to go into it, but I just want to make a note that, in an RFI that went out, the county signaled that its contribution this year would be $331,000, down from $338,000. Despite the fact that their expenses rise, food, medical, not to mention the state mandated increases in minimum wage for the shelter employees. So it's very difficult for these nonprofits to keep pace with everything all at once. And I don't have any solution right now, but the one thing I would say is that nonprofits must think of themselves in no different terms than any business, and they really need to apply the same business principles in order to be sustainable. That's the message of the day.
Excellent. And if you want to read more about that and other things, you just go to rcbizjournal.com and check it out. Sign up for a newsletter while you're at it. Thank you, Tina Traster, for joining us. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
Hey, have a great week.